Then Cut is the feature in Cricut Design Space that allows you to design something in Cricut Design Space, print it on your printer, and then cut it on your Cricut machine. It is ideal to use this feature when it comes to multicolored designs, super intricate designs, pictures, all those kinds of things. But good morning, my name is Kelly Rousseau, and if we haven't met before, then hello, it is lovely to meet you. If we have met before, it is so great to see you again. But this video, we are here to talk about Print Then Cut, more specifically, an introduction to Print Then Cut. Now please bear with me on this one. This is going to be a long video, as we're going to be covering machines, printers, materials that you're going to need, how to set it up in Design Space, register, calibrate, and I like to throw in lots of tips and tricks in between that'll help you with your Print Then Cut projects. There is so much to learn, and I won't be able to cover everything in this video, which is why the resource that I have created is so important, and I will get to that at the end of the video. But download the free assets that I've given down below, which will cover everything that we're talking about, and it should help you follow along with this video. And remember that if you have any questions, please post them in the Facebook group, and remember to tag me at Kelly Rousseau, and I will do my absolute best to help you with your projects. My name is Kelly Rousseau, and let's get clacking. So to start off the introduction to Print Then Cut, we're going to first talk about the machines that you're going to need to be able to print then cut. Now, out of the range of machines that Cricut has, the only one that is not compatible with Print Then Cut is the Cricut Joy. They recently introduced the Joy Extra, which is a little bit bigger, which can do an A4 or a letter Print Then Cut. Nothing bigger. But for most of us, that is perfect. So any of the Explore machines, the Maker machines, and the Venture can also use Print Then Cut. When it comes to the type of printer that you want to use in combination with your Print Then Cut, if you don't have a printer at home, you can always save it to a PDF and have it printed somewhere else. But most people choose to go for EcoTank printers. EcoTank printers use ink that you can top up once it's finished, so you don't have to go and buy a new cartridge. The printers themselves are normally slightly more expensive, but they are well worth it because they save you a lot of money in the long run when it comes to buying cartridges. With cartridge printers, the cartridges themselves, although most of them can be recycled, they are pretty expensive, and you need to replace the entire cartridge as opposed to just topping up the ink that you can do with an EcoTank printer, which is why EcoTank printers are wildly popular at the moment. And you can actually print thousands of pages before needing a refill. And although I don't print pages and pages per day, I've had my printer for 18 months and I haven't needed to refill the ink yet, which is amazing. I haven't been shy with my printing, but I don't print full color pages every single day. You can get them in many different brands: Canon, Brother, Epson. I myself have an Epson L3150, which is no longer in production, but most of the printers do many of the same kinds of things. I would suggest getting one with Wi-Fi printing, super useful because then you don't have to have a cable running to your computer. Now, when it comes to the material that you're going to be printing on, first of all, it needs to be compatible with your printer. So you need to make sure that the GSM, the grams per square meter, of the paper that you're printing on is going to work in your printer. My printer, as an example, doesn't like to take anything above a 250 GSM, so I try and keep that in mind when I'm buying my materials. Now, when it comes to buying sticker vinyl and printable vinyl and things like that, you need to make sure that it specifically states that it is printable. As an example, Cricut adhesive vinyl and most vinyls that you can buy in shops, again, unless they specifically state that that is printable vinyl, it is safe to assume that you can't print on it. As a rule of thumb, if it doesn't specifically state that it's printable, it's not printable. When it comes to the printable vinyls, you also get glossy and then you get matte. Matte is generally recommended for beginners because of the fact that when your Cricut does the actual registration, it uses a light to detect the actual marks that it prints on the page. If you have a glossy paper, it kicks back a glare and the Cricut can't identify exactly where those marks lie. So with glossy material, you're going to need to either draw on it with a crayon to mattify or make the glossy edge dull, just on the registration marks, not on the whole page. Or you can use some invisible tape to just tape over that section where there is kickback on the glass, and then you're more likely to have a better registration. And if this is one of your first few Print Then Cut projects and you're still working out the kinks in the process, I would recommend using copy paper just to start so that you can iron out any creases and not have to worry about wasting any of your material. Before you get started on your Print Then Cut projects, I do recommend doing a calibration first. Now, calibration is not something that you're going to need to do every single time you print then cut. If you notice that your cuts are going slightly off, then I would recommend doing a calibration, but you shouldn't have to do it very regularly. So in Cricut Design Space, in the top right-hand corner, we're going to click on the drop-down arrow underneath your name. We're going to click Settings. We're going to come over to the Machines tab, and under Machine Calibration, we're going to select the machine that we're going to use. I'm going to be using my Explore 3, so I'm going to click Start. And the only option available for me under the Machine Calibration section is Print Then Cut. So I'm going to click on Print Then Cut, and it will then prompt me to print the calibration sheets. Now, the calibration process runs in two different cycles. You have the general calibration, and then you have the fine calibration. So when it comes to printing out your calibration sheets, just print out two so that you are ready to go for the next section. So I'm going to make sure that I have copy paper in my machine, which is what we're going to use, just plain regular copy paper, and then I'm going to click Print. It will then send it to my printer, which is over the network, and there it's initiating the print now, and that is going to print out. And then what I like to do, like I said, just to save time, I'll actually just click Print again, so that it'll print two back to back, so that the next one is ready for the fine calibration when I'm ready to start it. So then I'm going to click Continue. And this is where we need to get out our mats. Now you can use your standard or your light grip mat. If you have a brand new standard grip mat, I would suggest not pressing down too hard, as you may tear the copy paper. So we're going to load this onto the mat with the numbers of the sheet in the top corner. So the numbers are going to read at the top, and then the letters are going to be down the side. You're then going to load it into the machine, and it will cut out the little square box in the middle. Now next you want to examine this box and make sure that the cut lines are as close to the middle of the black line around the box as possible. And if not, then you'll need to click No. Let's do a basic calibration. If your cut lines are on the black line but not perfectly in the middle, then you're going to do a fine calibration. Most of the time you may start with the basic calibration, which is perfectly fine. Your Cricut will then cut the 21 lines at the top between 1 and 21, and all of the lines down the side between A and U. And then you need to take a very close look at those lines. I find it helps to take a photo and then zoom in a little bit to see where the Cricut has cut in the middle of the line the most accurately. You're going to then select on your screen the number that is the most in the middle, and then the letter that is the most in the middle. And once you're done with the basic calibration, you'll repeat the same steps and do a fine calibration. And that'll help you get more accurate cuts with your Cricut. And I definitely suggest reading all of the prompts on the screen and following them very closely. Once your calibration is complete, you can start thinking about the actual design that you want to use. But because this is Print Then Cut, you can use any full color designs, photos, SVGs. You can convert anything into a Print Then Cut design. You can design something in Design Space, or you can import your own brand logo, something that you designed in another software, bought from Etsy or Creative Fabrica. The options are endless. So once you've downloaded the designs and saved them to your computer, then we come back into Cricut Design Space, and we're just going to upload it to Design Space by clicking Upload, Upload Image. And I'm going to just choose a design and drag it into Cricut Design Space into the little block. Now, this is a PNG file, which means that it has a transparent background. If you have a JPEG file, you will need to follow the process of removing the white of the background instead of just having it automatically removed, which is why I like using things like Creative Fabrica, because then I have to do less work. Removing the background is not always particularly difficult, but the lower your quality of image, the more difficult uploading it into Design Space is going to be. So when you have a higher quality, better optimized file, it makes the entire process so much easier, which is why I always recommend for people to try out things like that, or files that are specifically designed for Cricut use and stickers and things like that, because it just makes your entire process so much easier and so much more user-friendly. So I don't have to do anything to this image. I can just click continue. And once it shows up in the preview section, because I can see these gray and white blocks behind the image, that means that the background is transparent. If that was white, then you would need to use this remover to remove parts of the background or parts of your image. So if I click on that little pink line, you can see how it removes it out of the design. Now I don't want to do that, so I'm going to undo. But you would need to fiddle around with those settings in order to remove the white background if you're uploading just a plain image. You can also fiddle around with the colors and the color tolerance. If your white section is removing too much of your background, then you'll need to lower your color tolerance. If it's not removing enough, you need to increase the color tolerance. And I do have a full video like that explaining the entire step-by-step process on my YouTube channel as well. But because we're using a PNG, we're just going to click apply and continue. Also, this process will be different if you're using an SVG file, as those are different file types. The multiple layers option works if you're wanting to create something like a shadow box. Single layer will be if you're using just a plain cut file, like I don't want to retain any of the colors. Flat graphic is used for print then cut. So because I want to retain all of the colors and keep the outline, I'm going to select flat graphic, click continue, and then I'm going to click upload, and it'll automatically add it into my canvas. All right, so the image has loaded, but when I use it in my journal, I want it to be about 5 centimeters or so. So in the size section at the top of the screen, I'm going to just highlight one of those numbers and just type in 5. Now that'll be about 2 inches for you. Maybe we can even make it 4 centimeters, so 1.5 inches or so. And just zooming in so that it is a little bit bigger on our screen that we can see. Now, if I were to cut the sticker just like this, it'll cut every single little outline and line and section on the sticker. Very much the same as how it would with vinyl. If you're used to cutting a name out of vinyl, it will have the same effect. Everywhere where you can see the grid of your canvas behind your image, that is where it'll cut. So when it comes to print then cut, I like to change the color of my canvas so that I can more easily see where I'm going to cut. So I'm going to just change the color by clicking on the white block at the bottom and then clicking on the color block at the top. Now we can see everywhere that it is purple, it's going to cut. We don't want that for this particular design. So I'm going to select this design and add an offset. You can use the create a sticker feature as well if you prefer. I like using the offset feature. And it might take a while because this is a very high quality image. So the higher your quality of your image itself, the longer it generally takes to add the border. So it has added the border, but the border is way too big. The blue line will show where it is going to add the offset layer to. So I'm going to use this little toggle and shrink it right the way down. And that is a much better border for me. So I'm going to click apply. Now it automatically changes the color to black, so we're going to change it to white. So I'm going to come up to the section at the top and click on the little black box, and then I'm going to click on white because I want to change the background color to white. You can of course make this any color you want. If it's white, it won't print anything. So if you are printing this onto yellow cardstock, it will be yellow because it won't print anything. The majority of household printers don't print white. Now we have an idea on what our sticker is going to look like, but we need to make sure that we are flattening our design because at the moment there are 2 separate layers in the layers panel. So what you're telling Cricut is that you need to cut those 2 separate layers separately. So in order to make it into one flat sticker, we need to flatten the design. So we're going to select both of the layers. And in the bottom right hand corner, you'll see it says flatten. And now we have only one flattened print then cut layer. If you add an offset, and you can see little sections on the inside of that line where the purple of the canvas is showing through, it is going to cut those. So what you need to do is change your image type from print then cut to basic cut. Click on the contour button and just click hide all contours so that it is one solid flat shape. Anywhere where there's an extra little cut line or a little section, that will cut. So we don't want that. And then we can change the color to white, select them both, and then flatten. And now you can simply repeat the process and add as many stickers as you want to your canvas. And once you have a few different images on your canvas, you can start adding in your offsets to all of the rest of them and make more use of your page, because printing again on the same page becomes a little bit difficult. So I would recommend trying to fill up as much of your page as possible. And make sure to flatten them individually so that you have each sticker flattened separately. Now that you have all of your stickers, we need to make sure that we're optimizing the space on our mat. And in the freebie down below, there will be a digital file that you can use to show you how much space you can use on your mat. And if you're using it on your computer, you can click on the link and it'll take you to a template that I've created to help you make the most out of your page on your Print Then Cut. So make sure you save that project so that you can reuse it every time you do something Print Then Cut related. So I'm going to click on the three dots, click File, New Window, and open up my template file. I'm going to then copy it, minimize that window, and right click and paste it into this particular file that I'm working with. Right click, send it to the back, and I'm going to move it into the top left corner so that I can optimize things a little better. And now all I'm going to do is move my stickers so that they don't overlap and that they take up as much of the space as possible, and that my space is the most optimized that it can be. I'm not going to overlap any of the edges, and I can fill up my space as much or as little as I like. When I'm done, I'm going to hover over the Print Then Cut template and click on the eye to hide it. Now that all of my designs are individually flattened and laid out exactly where I want them to be, I'm going to select everything. I'm going to right click and attach. The only time we attach is when we have already flattened items together on our canvas, so that they stay in the same place and we don't have to adjust anything. Then we save our design. Because now, if we want to recreate this project again, we can just click on it, print it, and go. We don't have to make any adjustments. And if anything goes wrong when we click Make, for example, if we hadn't attached all our stickers together, Cricut optimizes them the best way that they think that is optimal, which is not. But also, if you move anything around here and something goes wrong in the process and you have to exit out, if you've already printed your page, the page that you've already printed, you can no longer use, because the chances of you getting everything in exactly the same place is almost zero. So we want to always attach it on the canvas so that when we come to this stage, we don't have to make any adjustments. We can just click Continue and we can send it to our printer. Now I'm going to leave bleed on, because bleed tells us when there are problems if we're wanting to have white backgrounds. All of my stickers have a white background, so I'm not going to see any difference when it comes to using bleed. I am going to use the system dialog because I like to custom set the settings on my printer for the paper that I'm using, and I'm going to click Print. If your system dialog doesn't pop up, it may be behind your Cricut Design Space if you're using a Mac. So I'm going to set the preferences for what I'm going to be using on this particular paper, which is adhesive label paper. So I use plain paper and high, and the high speed print is also off. I have just loaded my label paper into the machine, so I'm going to then print it out. Now you can select the cut settings, and the cut settings depends on the material that you're using, as well as whether you want a kiss cut, so you only want to cut the top layer and not cut through the bottom layer, or whether you want a complete cut through the paper, so whether you wanted to cut right through the page and have it separate from the backing. You will need to do some tests on these depending on the settings that you're using. I like to use the washi sheet setting for my kiss cut stickers. So I'm going to load my printed page onto my mat to make sure that it stays stuck down onto my mat. Again, if you're using a very sticky green mat, please be careful as it may destroy your material. Load it into my Cricut machine, press go once it's ready, and watch it register. If you're using glossy paper or glossy vinyl, you will need to reduce the glare on the registration marks. As you can see, the light shines on the registration marks, and when it's glossy paper, that'll be a problem, and your registration will be completely off. So use your invisible tape or your crayon, white crayon, to help dull or mattify that paper. And once it's all done cutting, you'll be able to peel up your stickers and use them in whatever you want. There are so many extra tips and tricks that I really wanted to give you in this video, but I just couldn't because of time. And so many of these tips and tricks help you with your print and cut projects to get better registrations, better cuts, explore different materials, learn how to clean your mat, how to use other features with print and cut. There are so many extra areas of print and cut that it's really difficult to get through in one single video. So what I did was I took all of my many years of knowledge working with so many different print and cut projects, and I put them all into my Print Then Cut Jumpstart workbook. This is an 80-page workbook that'll help you with so many of your print and cut problems, from outlining many of the things that we've spoken about today, with lots of extra tips and tricks thrown in between, just like in this video, but all at your fingertips, that you can print it out if you want, put it in a file, and go through it at your leisure. And every time you have a problem, you can refer back to the workbook to help you get through that particular problem or through that project. And the link to my Print Then Cut workbook will be down below. It is only $19, so it is well worth it, and I know that it'll help you with so many of the problems that you may be having. And it would mean so much to me if you shared your projects that you've made by following this tutorial in the Facebook group. Please tag me and let me know what you've made and show me the amazing creations or even the funny fails. I will share a few of my funny fails with you as well. But if you want to take your newly learned print and cut skills and apply them to some projects, check out this playlist here. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more Cricut videos in the future, and remember, be kind to someone today. See you soon.